everybody, it's Christina. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be playing with the Letterpress and not only just using it for regular pressing of the sentiment, but also for trying to do some foiling. So we're going to try that today. I'm going to go over first just plain old letterpressing, then we'll get into doing the foiling part of our card, and then we have some Olo markers that we're going to be playing with today as well, and some more die cutting. So lots going on today to get this card together, but I really think it's going to come out super cute. So let's start with letterpress. The first thing we need is our BetterPress system, and then I also have my die cutting machine. So we are going to start off with our sentiments, and for this one I am going to actually do this the way you're supposed to with the letterpress machine. I'm going to start off using these sentiment strips, and I love this. I'm going to put this right in the middle, and it also has coordinating dies, so I'm just going to have a lot of leftover sentiments, but this sentiment set has some great options in here, from birthday to anniversary to even just thinking about you and that kind of thing. So I'm going to have lots of sentiment strips available for when I'm making a card real quick and I could just need something to throw onto that card. I have my BetterPress. I forget the chase. I think the whole system is the chase. I don't even remember, but we're going to take the clear plate on the top, and I'm going to take some of the cotton cardstock and put that right into the A2 section, which I was going for the A7 section. The A2 section of our press. Just going to grab this. Well, that didn't work out. I'm just going to grab some of the yellow tape, put some at the corner. This one I'll probably be able to grab a little bit easier, and put some on this corner. And that's just going to hold that cardstock right onto the plate. I already went ahead and put the BetterPress die onto the platform. This is a magnetic background if you haven't used this before. Magnetic background, it just holds it in place, and we just want to make sure it's in the A2 section since we're using A2 cardstock. I am going to use the BetterPress ink, and we're going to start inking this up. Now the best way to get your ink onto this is to kind of give it a little twist and turn while you're stamping it out. I'm using some black ink, and I am really trying to make sure this year that things that I've purchased and haven't used very much, that we're getting more use out of. And the BetterPress system was something that I purchased and I've used maybe once or twice. So today it's more of experimenting and trying out all these other different fun techniques that you can use with your BetterPress system. So I have that inked up. I'm going to put my acrylic plate onto the top, and there's just magnets that hold it into place, and we'll run this through our machine. I'm just running it through my Platinum 6 here. And you just want to take your time running it through. And you definitely don't want to feed it back through. Just send it through one way and grab it and pull it through. And try not to push down on the top of it. This has some magnets in it, or some like magnets and springs, that if you push down it, you could accidentally give yourself a shadow stamp of your sentiments. So there we go. I love that. It just pushes that ink into that cardstock beautifully. How gorgeous is that? We are going to put this aside, and I'm going to run this through my die cutter. There's a coordinating die, and I'm going to pull that out. It comes with this stamp set, so we just got to figure out which way it goes, and I think that might be the right way. And there we go. There are our sentiments, and I love this. They pop out of there beautifully nice. And look how great those sentiments are. I'm going to set these aside because I wanted to really just go through the whole setting up and running through of the BetterPress machine, and before we start experimenting with our BetterPress dies. For this particular set, we have the BetterPress dies, and we also have the coordinating dies. We can cut these out, and that's what we're going to do today. There are a couple of flowers on here, and there's also some stem pieces. I am going to pick off the floral pieces, because that is what we're going to use. I'll set the rest of them aside. And I have more of my cotton cardstock. Now I did test this on regular Nina 110 pound cardstock, and I found that I liked it better on the cotton cardstock because it does that impression. It does push that foil into the cardstock more than it would with the regular Neenah cardstock. So I'm going to use the cotton cardstock that's for BetterPress to do this. And I'm going to grab these 2 dies. I don't think I can get all 3 of these on here at once. Maybe if I turn one upside down. Got to make sure I leave enough room for die cutting the, yeah, I don't think it's going to leave enough room. Not even upside down. Okay, so we're going to have to come back and we'll do 2, and then we'll come back and do the 3rd one on another piece of cardstock. And I'm going to do this the same way I would do my regular Glimmer system. So I'm going to use the Glimmer system for this. I'm going to use some matte gold foil. I love the matte gold. And I am going to put the 2 dies onto my plate. Make sure they're in. I don't want to stick my fingers on there and get burnt. So I'm just going to use my tweezers. And I'm going to take my matte gold and just set it right over the top. So I have those 2 onto my plate. I'm going to add my cardstock right on top. Going to add my 2 shims for the Glimmer system and turn the timer on. I'm just going to let this sit and wait for the timer to be done, and once that is done, I can run through my die cutting machine. While this is heating up, I'm just going to cut the other piece of the matte gold foil and get that so it's ready to go as soon as I am done with this set of flowers. So that's all heated up, so we have a solid green light. I'm just going to pull this out and we can run it through our machine here. Again, I go fairly slow. I also do not come backwards on this one. I go through with 1 try, and I don't try not to feed it back. Of course, if I'm in a precarious situation where I don't have enough space behind it, I may have to feed it back, but generally try not to do that. I'm going to grab my tweezers, pick up our images here. I'm going to set these to the side. I use the little pickup tool that comes with it. I'm going to set this back into the system and let that heat up again, because we do have to run through one more time. I'm going to peel this one off. Oh, it's way too close. I'm going to have to cut this one more time because that was way too close to the edge. This one should be fine. So we're going to do that one more time. I'm going to have to cut one more piece of the gold. This time we'll make sure we do this in the right direction. I think that was part of my problem. So my smaller one is the one that needs to be redone. We'll grab another piece of the matte gold. This time I'm going to put them going in this direction because my cardstock fits better when it's going in the other direction. So we're going to grab our foil. I'm going to put shiny side down. And we'll slide this one over without burning our fingers. And then put our other piece of gold on this one. I probably could have cut a larger piece, but because of the fact that I wasn't prepared for doing that one twice, put that on there. And then we put our 2 plates on. So we put the green one down first, then our clear one, and then we go ahead and hit the timer. Pop that off, and then we can go ahead and run this. And then we'll run this through the machine. Grab my tweezers, and we should be better this time. My foil moved, but covered perfectly. I love the matte gold. That is gorgeous. One of the things that I like about using the cotton cardstock with the Glimmer plates, or the Glimmer system and the Letterpress, is it does not as much as if it was going through the BetterPress system, but it does push that gold into the cardstock much more on the cotton cardstock than it does on the regular cardstock. But shiny, shiny, love that. I am going to get these prepped for die cutting. So I'm going to die cut these with the coordinating dies, and I'm also going to cut some black cardstock using this rectangle die that has this pierced edge on it. So I'm going to do that in black, and then I have this other rectangle die that's got this extra little like embossed area going around the die, so it's got like a double border. So I'm going to die cut this one, but then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how to get that a little bit more defined when you run it through your die cutting machine. I went ahead and die cut this one that had the double edge on it. I'm going to flip it upside down, take off my matte, my top acrylic. I'm going to remove my magnetic matte, which that's one thing I love about this machine is that magnetic matte, because I can just kind of roll it off, and I'm leaving this in place. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to put my rubber mat down. Most machines do come with a rubber mat, and my particular machine also requires that I put the metal shim in. I'm going to run this through my machine one more time, and then we end up with a more detailed impression of that edge, which is really nice. Adds a great little effect to your card. I also ran the black one through. I doubt, well, maybe you can see it just a little bit, but I like that edge. You do not have to do that. You do get some impression, but with the rubber mat, it does give just a little bit more detail to that. And because I can't control myself, I feel like we need to add some splatter to the background. So I'm just going to put a little drop of this pigment ink onto my glass mat. Need a little bit of water just to dampen my brush. I'm going to pick up some of that pigment, and I like to use just a loose brush so it's very light bristles, or very smooth, soft bristles. That was really hard to get out. And then I'm going to use an acrylic block, and I like to just, sometimes I'll use my finger, but most times I like just to do it this way. And I'm just going to use that to splatter this gold onto there. If it might need some more gold, well, we might be able to make it. We'll try a little bit more. I feel like I added a little too much water to that. So I'm going to pick up some more of the Gilded, and then we'll splatter that on there. That's way better. All right, got to have some gold sparkle in the background. I just set that aside to dry. Now what I'm going to do is just play a little bit with my Olo markers. I'm going to color one of them, but then I'll color the rest of them kind of sped up. So the first one I'm going to be doing, let's do this large one first. And I can't help it, we got to have some kind of teal in there. And I did pull out 2 green markers, but I'm looking at this and it's so tiny that I might only just use 1 green marker and not do any shading. But I'm going to start off with the lightest color. This is BG 2.1, and fill this in. And I'm not going to really, like, I don't know, I could just go right over this and you don't have to really worry about getting it out of the lines too much. Now the color, because I'm not using a alcohol marker friendly cardstock, I do have to be careful right around the edges. And I am trying to do this in a way that I'm not used to coloring. I am used to having my hand right above it, but I'm going to try to make it so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to add that first color and lay that down. As I said before, I think I know I said in a previous video, I am really going to start practicing this year with my alcohol markers. And I have been playing with them more often and really enjoying them. So we're going to put our first layer down, which like I said, is the lightest layer. I'm going to come in with the darker layer. And I am just going to, for these petals, just flick layers out towards the end, but I'm not going to go all the way out. So I'm just going to come in just like this and just flick some of that color out, trying not to go too far out, especially because I'm not holding the pen I normally do. For this one, I'm going to do a little bit of shading on that end. And just going from one end to the other. So I have a little bit of heavy pressure and then letting up as I move out. And I don't even think that I need to blend too much more. Now for the middle part, I'm just going to come in and just dot in some of this darker color and let it sit. That's really all I'm going to do with this one. I'm keeping it very simple. I'm also going to come in with my green color that comes out so pretty. I don't think I am going to add the darker green. I think I'm just going to leave it with the lighter green. But I have some areas, so you can see right in there, I did go out of the line. So let's see how the blender pen does on this cotton cardstock and kind of blending it away. Where is the area? Right here. Oh, not too bad. And another thing you can do is, I see there's a little one down here. I'm going to grab one of my white gel pens and make sure it's working. And just go over that. So you can hide if you're worried about the way your blender pen might bleed the color out. Like this one, you could see some of the green just is not blending out. So I'm just going to go over it with my white gel pen. And some of that I touched the blender pen to the part that's inside the foil. So I'm just going to bring my marker back in and touch that up. So I am done with this one. And I'm going to go ahead and start doing the other two flowers. I'm just going to put some music on so you can enjoy some music while I color them in. The pink had a little bit of a harsher line when I did the blending out, so I went back in with the lighter color and did a little bit more blending in. This one I decided needed to be a little bit darker, so I went back in with the darker color, and this one's staying just the way it was. So those are all ready to go, and then this should be all dry now, and that's all of the splatters on it. Might not see much of it once I put the card together, but it's there. We gotta have some splatter in the background. I'm gonna take this baker's twine that has the gold in it, and I'm going to start by taping it right to the back of this piece of cardstock. I'll just use my low-tack tape. I'm going to wrap this around a couple of times. And then we'll take another piece of tape and stick that right into place. I'm going to grab my scissors and cut that off. And then I'm going to add some foam tape on here because of that little bit of bulk here. Plus I want this to layer nicely on top of the piece of black cardstock. We're going to add the foam tape in here. So it'll help for the bulk of the ribbon, plus also give us some dimension. I'm going to center this right into the center of this piece of black cardstock. I think that looks pretty centered. And then what we're going to do is layer up our flowers. So I think I'm going to do maybe the blue on this side, the pink on this side, and then the yellow in the center. I think that'll be pretty. So we're just going to adhere those down. I'm going to find my liquid adhesive. For this, I'm just going to start at the bottom and just put glue right at the very bottom of the flower in case I need to move things around. So I'm going to start with the two outside pieces. And then we'll put our centerpiece in. Just like that. I'm going to let that dry. For the two back layers, I'm just going to add some liquid adhesive to the back side and adhere those flat down. And then for our middle piece, I want that to have a little bit of dimension. So I am going to grab two of these little foam adhesives and I'm going to take the backings off while it's still on the backing of the foam. I took the top layer off so that the foam is exposed on both sides, and I'm going to use these behind my yellow flower here, and that'll just make that particular flower pop up a little bit more. That is so pretty. Before I add a sentiment, I want to add a little bow to the center of this ribbon, so I'm just going to kind of grab all of them, stick my baker's twine underneath the layers of the ribbon. We're going to pull this through, and I'm just going to tie a knot. I don't know if any of you have this, but I find if my project is upside down, I tie a bow better. I don't know why. But we're just going to go ahead and tie our bow. Just turn this around, make sure it's in where we want it to be. If it's loose, you can always add a little bit of glue behind that, but I think that pretty much is exactly perfect. And what I'm going to do is add my sentiment. I'm going to put my sentiment down here at the bottom. It'll help cover up some of that floral pieces. We could do like your In My Thoughts. So many. I don't know which one to do. Maybe Feel Better Soon, because I don't have many Feel Better cards, and that might be the perfect thing for this. So I'm going to add the perfect amount of these little squares to put on the back of this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and put those down. I'm going to put one in the each end and one in the center. So I'm just going to adhere this down, making sure I'm straight and centered, and covering sort of the bottom of those floral pieces so you can tell if they're uneven. Then we have our little bow here. And then all I have to do is just add this to a card front. I'm just going to add some tape runner to the back. And I have an A2 top folding card. We're just going to center that right onto that top folding card. And we have a really cute Feel Better Soon card. But this card had a lot of things that I was able to do. I got to practice my Ola markers, got to play around with trying using foiling on your letterpress dies, and I also got to use my letterpress system that I purchased and only used once. So it was nice to be able to bring out those things and play with them a little bit more. Thanks everybody for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. See you the next time. Bye.